Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to look at a book review. Now, some of you may well have seen on our previous Birding Diaries episodes, we had a chat to Nick Newman, who announced the new edition of Newman's Birds by Colour. And obviously a lot of people who haven't seen this book, the first question you ask is, well, who is this book aimed at? So let's take a step back and look at some of the established books that dominate the field guide market. And I've got an array of them over here, some of them current editions, some of them older ones. There's the Roberts Bird Guide. There's my trusty old Newman's Birds of Southern Africa. I've got the new Birds of Southern Africa Complete Photographic Guide. This is Berger Cillier, Neil Cillier, Phil Pendington, Trevor Hardaker and Karen Vissler. And one of my various iterations of Sassel Birds of Southern Africa. And these are the mainstay books for all birders. And obviously that is where most birders would go. But let's assume you're very, very new to birding. And it's something I come across all the time on social media, on our WhatsApp groups, etc. You know very little about birds. You've just started, you've just got your first pair of binoculars, you've been birding a couple of months, and you see a shrike, you see a bishop. To be honest, for someone who doesn't know their families, this is a massively daunting and very, very scary prospect to even know where to start. And you know, for us more senior birders, I've seen many senior birders dismiss the struggles of the beginner and say, oh, just look at your field guide. But to be honest, 1,000 birds in here, you don't know your families. To be brutally honest, I don't blame you for being terrified and not even wanting to start birding as a hobby. I mean, to even think of where to look in here. And it doesn't help the fact that, yes, it gives you the sizes, but you know, a bishop's drawn roughly the same size as an eagle, as a heron. So, you know, for beginner birders, all of these books are a very terrifying place to start. So why not come up with a concept to say, I see a bird and I see it's got some color on it. It's got some red, it's got some yellow, whatever the case may be. Why not give me a book where I can just open the book? I have no idea what my families are. I just know the bird has some yellow on it. And that's where this comes in. Honestly, for a beginner who knows nothing about birds, this will probably help you identify most of the colorful birds you see, or birds that have any sort of color on them, relatively quickly and fairly easily. So, I mean, let's just take the famous crimson-breasted shrike. I mean, you as a beginner, you have no idea, you've never heard of shrikes, you just see this thing, you don't know what it is. If you have a look here on the spine, you will see that there are color markings on the edge of the page. So as you go through, I just page until I see red. And lo and behold, I have all the birds that have red on them. Now I can start paging through and I can look for something that looks a lot like what I saw, and hopefully just matching similar looking birds that are red, I will come to crimson-breasted shrike. And so it goes, but I mean, let's take something a little bit more complicated. Some birds have more than one color on, so let's take Swee Waxbill. And as for beginners, you may not know Swee Waxbill, but that has some green on it. So I'm going to go to green, and hopefully somewhere in the birds with the green on, I should come to Swee Waxbill, and in fact I do. It's got green on the back, but I notice it's also got some red on it. So let's go and look at the red birds. And what you will find is that you end up with the Swee Waxbill listed under the red birds as well. And there it is. So it really is a helpful start to just work on the color that you see on birds. Obviously, over time, what this does is it gives you the confidence to say, okay, I've never seen a bird with black on the top and so much red on the chest, but I've now seen it, I've looked in my book, and it's a crimson-breasted shrike. And maybe another time you will look at the black and white birds, and you will come to another shrike, and it's now called southern fiscal, but it was fiscal shrike, and maybe you arrive at southern fiscal. And over time, you start to learn as a novice what shrikes look like. You start to learn what waxbills look like without needing to know they even exist. And obviously, over time, this only covers about 690 of the roughly 1,000 species we have. But honestly, for a beginner, that's more than enough to start with. And this really is an easy way for birders to wet their toes if they've never birded in their lives before. Obviously, a lot of the more cryptic birds, a lot of the LBJs and the waders that are in drab, greyish plumage that are so difficult to identify, those are well beyond the scope of this book, but no beginner is going to be identifying those anyway. It really is a phenomenal place to start. On top of that, if you've never dealt with birding before and you know nothing about birds, there's a lot of useful introductory information. There's a lovely intro section. Obviously, all books have a how to use this book, but you've got an introduction that really deals with the basic concept of the different sizes of birds, showing sparrows, doves, guinea fowl, hodidar, which even non-birders know from their call. It covers habitats, just tells you a little bit about them and the icons you'll see in the book. And obviously that gives you an exposure to the different types of habitats and where you might see birds. You start to get an introduction into the behavior. Just what we birders call general impression of size and shape. There's some silhouettes. The anatomy of a bird, so you can start to see the various parts of the bird and the terms that birders might use, like malar, stripe, etc. So it's got all these pieces, a lot of information about how birds fly, migrations, the types of bills birds have, all these sorts of things that we advanced birders take for granted because we've known for many years, having birded for a lengthy period of time. The types of feet, all of these sorts of things we glibly throw around these terms, not realizing that a lot of absolute beginners know absolutely nothing about these terms because they don't know bird anatomy, they don't know bird physiology, and they don't know behavior. And even should you wish to buy binoculars, a camera, or take up birding, there's a lot of useful information in the introductory section. And then obviously you hit this page that if you're not going to use this color key on the side here, you can look here and go orange plumage and it tells you where to go. So honestly, a lot of birders who've birded for quite a long period of time and who have not used this book in starting their birding career have asked me, who is this for? And to be brutally honest, for someone who knows absolutely nothing about birds, but to be able to see a crimson-breasted shrike, a yellow-billed hornbill, whatever the case may be, and be able to just, by color, go to that section, find the bird. I really think if you're a beginner and you've never birded in your life before, this is the book for you.